it's interesting this morning. The president just said the climate change summit is a powerful rebuke, quote unquote, to terrorists. Just want you to think about that for a second. A powerful rebuke to terrorists? Do you think that the terrorists said, oh my God, wow, they're holding that summit no matter the fact that we bombed, in France or killed people in France and so forth? Gee, that's really brave of them to hold that climate change summit. Where is that? In the Philippines or something like that, I think. Yeah. I don't know if that's a powerful message to them. I'm not sure they even care. But, what do I know? 1-800-357-0910. A lot of you are going to sit down at meals tomorrow, and some people that plan their dinners are worried about certain people kind of sitting at the same table. Maybe there's some ancient strife. Maybe there's, a little something going on in the family. Maybe someone didn't like someone's wife or someone's husband or someone's mom or dad or mother-in-law, whatever it might be. So what about these relationships you have? Well, this morning, Dr. Leslie Beth Wish is with us. She's a psychotherapist and author of Smart Relationships, How Successful Women Can Find True Love. But she wants to talk about something entitled this morning, Hold Your Tongue and Pass the Pie. And we say good morning to Dr. Leslie Beth Wish here on the Gary Sutton Show. Dr. Wish, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, and happy holidays to you and your listeners.
Happy holidays to you. So, I was describing, every now and then you get some people that come to dinner who some just might say anything. You get that crazy uncle that shows up and says anything he wants to, and he could, offend somebody. And we're in a day and age when people are looking to be offended from time to time, even if you're family. Or you get somebody who has some leftover stuff from Thanksgiving's past or whatever it might be. And so that all shows up to the dinner table along with the appetites, right?
Everybody brings an invisible backpack to the Thanksgiving or any holiday or family gathering. And the goal is not to get defensive or to get depressed or unhappy about, oh no, I've got to go spend time with my so-called family again, So here's another way to make your Thanksgiving and any holiday with your family better and how to change your experience. So start with making the goal of being with your family an opportunity to change their image of you.
Even if they have a good image, right? I mean, or are you just trying to kind of keep that going if they already have a good image of you, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yes, either way, maintain or change.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to go in, and I think normally when we go into those family get-togethers, most of us will go in and say, geez, I want to do my part to make this a great day for everybody. And if I'm going in there thinking, hey, it's all about me, it's selfie time for me, that might not just be the right approach to going into, a family get-together, right?
Well, most people go to their family with either one of three major approaches. One is they're so happy and, yay, this is great, I get to see the kids.
Right.
That would be ideal. And I don't know how many families that happens in, but that's the goal, right? The second way is people end up going there with the mindset that they're playing dodgeball. I'm going to have to avoid Uncle Henry, Aunt Susan, you're just going to have to hope that someone doesn't make their usual comments.
Right.
But usual is the operating word here. If they said it 10 times before, they're probably going to ask you again, did you find that good job yet? Or whatever the question is. Or when are you getting married? Are you still living together with someone? All those questions that you play dodgeball with.
In other words, are you still a loser? Are you ever going to have kids so I can be a grandparent or a uncle? All the that's how you interpret it and kind of take it in, right?
Exactly. And so you go there thinking, how can I avoid being with this person or dealing with this person? And the third mistake is some people go to their family gatherings and think that, wow, we're finally all together. This is a great opportunity for me to have that long-term, long-standing powwow with my mom, dad, or grandfather. And that's not a way to go. I mean, would you like to be blindsided if someone sat down with you and said, I have to talk about how you hurt me 5 years ago?
Yeah, no, that's not the reason you're there that day. It's almost like a bait and switch when you go to a store to buy one thing and all of a sudden someone's selling you something else.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Absolutely. So my first recommendation is set the groundwork now. You're in charge of how they regard you, so you have to take charge of that, invisible family view of you. So start now by sending a card by snail mail or text or email or phone message, whatever works better for you. Say something nice to someone. such as, looking forward to your sweet potato pie or looking forward to hear about that fishing trip. Say something, because what that does is that it changes the mood and it makes them see you in a different light. So that's your very first step.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Now, here's something that is going to come up with every family. We look out there today, everything has gotten political, Leslie Beth. Everything has gotten political. And I would dare say, if you want to ruin a good Thanksgiving dinner, have politics show up at the table, right?
Oh, especially now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And with the world politics, with what's going on, we got presidential campaigns kicking into full gear. We got all that happening. So, I think, it's kind of incumbent upon you to know, does that fit into the conversation in any way, shape, or form, or is it best to just go in there and say, okay, stay away from it, don't talk about it, and let's find something else, because we get enough of that at work and all the rest of our days. Let's keep one day kind of sacred away from that, right?
Well, I have a great technique that has worked with families on not just politics, but any of those topics that your relatives, ask you questions about. Just like you said, when you're going to have children, when you're going to find a better job, you still living in that crummy apartment, any of those things. And then in that list would be politics. So the way you handle it is, number one, don't give your opinion. Please don't. Get into learning, questioning mode. The quickest way to silence someone who's critical of you or who has to, stand up and lecture is you say, could you educate me on what you recommend I do about fill in the blank. Okay, my dating. Gee, thank you so much for being concerned about my dating situation. Always thank someone.
Right, and,
okay?
and make sure it's not dripping with sarcasm, right?
No.
Right. No, I understand the way you're saying. I'm just saying, but some people would say that, and there are people who are going to sit there and go, they're kind of mocking me the way they're coming back, or they're trying to get me off their back. And you're just saying, hey, just be sweet about it and say, okay, what do you think I should be doing there that I'm not doing right now?
Exactly. The approach is to thank someone for how you want them to feel. Gee, thanks so much for caring. What suggestions do you have for me as to how to meet the right person? Or what suggestions do you have for me as to which way to vote or which candidate? Educate me. Once you put that hot potato in that person's lap, you'd be surprised how little advice they have.
Yeah, when you have to actually come out and so if they meant it the wrong way in the first place, you're kind of flushing them out a little bit by being nice about it, basically, right?
Yes. A good way to think about going into your family is to think about that hot potato. And always remember, don't leave it in your lap. Give it to someone else nicely. Gee, that's a good thought. How do I find a good college major? What do you recommend I do, given what you know about me?
Right. And, of course, if they don't know that much about you, that may end the conversation or at least divert it somewhere else. What other kinds of things do you need to do going into this whole thing?
Well, you want to make sure that if you've hurt someone's feelings, in that little text message or whatever you've sent to people, you can say, I apologize. I wasn't very tactful last year at Thanksgiving, and I've been wanting to say that to you. Take responsibility, because after all, you're asking your family to think responsibly about you. You have to walk the walk and talk the talk. And the other thing you can do is stand up at the table, make an announcement, clink the little glass and say, I have an announcement to make. I want to thank you all for putting up with my job change, or major change, one relationship after another, living in a hovel, whatever, fill in the blanks. And I want you to know that I've done really serious thinking about it, and I'm making a change this year, and I'm going to be doing, fill in the blank, or say, I want your suggestions. What you're doing is taking charge of their know-it-allism.
By the same token, if you're doing that at the table, depending on how many people there are there, again, you kind of violate the rule of maybe everybody doesn't really care right now about that. And there's, the ones that do, you go off to the side with them. And just about everybody else does not. So, is it kind of a dig me moment in a way?
No, the one thing you want to avoid, not every time, but at least in the beginning stage, is that one-to-one. Because that's when people get most defensive. Come on, everyone's had a conversation that begins with, look, I don't mean to hurt your feelings,
But I'm about to do it.
Yeah, but I'm
Right.
just going to say something really horrible about you. So you want to diffuse it. Other things you can do is be a surprise Thanksgiving or a surprise Santa or whatever your holiday is, and write something nice about each person and pass it around the table. Or have everyone say something nice about someone around the table. You can take charge of changing that mood.
I always like that when people say, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I had someone do that one year, and I weighed a whole lot more weight, and they try to figure out different ways to tell you that you're fat.
That's
all right?
right.
And so the one person said, listen, I don't want to hurt your feelings. And I said, well, then don't.
That's right.
And before they ever got to the but part, because that's the best part of the sentence right there. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I'm about to do it. And before you get to the but, you go, well, thanks. Then don't do that.
Exactly.
And it's a disarming thing, and it maybe is very quick and terse, but by the same token, it does kind of stave off any further bad feeling that you're going to have at that particular point, too.
And you don't want to do things that will catch people off guard. That's why I don't like these powwows. What these powwows often do is sort of like eating your favorite dessert. It feels so loving often to say, Grandpa, I owe you understand, thank you. And then it's over and the taste of the cake or whatever is gone, and then you fall right back down like those little snow globes that you shake up and all those little things settle down the bottom. So after the holiday, maintain contact with all these family members,
right,
especially those ones that push your hot buttons. What I did one year with my family is I passed around a sheet of paper and I said, please write down your birthday and your anniversary. I put them into my iPhone. You get a message in your calendar all the time, and you send a card or an email or a quick phone
Nice
call.
idea, by the way. I was just thinking about that the other day. It's funny you bring it up because I was thinking, I don't know a lot of birthdays of some of my family members that are a little further away from me, and I need to get that. And so it's funny you mentioned that today because that's a really simple thing. And, if you want to stay caught up there, that's a great way of doing it. I mean, just make sure you have it all stuffed in your phone so you're ready to kind of do that on a given day or get out ahead of it a little bit. So what other things are we looking at here? Is we're talking to Dr. Leslie Beth Wish this morning. Who's a psychotherapist, author of Smart Relationships, How Successful Women Can Find True Love. So pretty good ideas so far. The one thing I'm kind of touched by as I think about family get-togethers, and in my family on both sides, we don't worry too much about tiptoeing around things. It seems to always work out pretty well. But you do know some situations that are going on. I guess that's part of the thing, too. As you're going into it, try to make it your business to know at least maybe just briefly about situations that might be affecting someone right now that might be embarrassing if you bring them up, or might be something that's really, really sensitive and tender. I mean, you have to be kind of sensitive to what's happening, right?
Yes, you don't want to say, so now that you dropped out of college, what are you going to do? Or now that your divorce is pending, what's your next step? You want to be really careful.
Yeah. Here you are. Now, by the way, now that you're still a loser and you proved us that you're a loser again, what do you plan on losing at next? I mean, I think it's important for us. It's kind of like playing chess. You got to think one move ahead in terms of saying, how will the receiver take this as I, the giver, present it? I mean, so many times we're not sensitive. To me, that's sensitivity. When you start to think ahead and say, well, I care about how they're going to receive this, and I care that they're going to receive this in the right way. And maybe if I can't think of a good way to say it, maybe it's something that doesn't really need to be said at this particular point in time.
Like in those cartoons, when you read the comics and they have the words in the little bubble, you can't take back that bubble.
Right.
You can always say something later, but you can't take something back very easily. It's really hard. And a person's responsibility is to know their own hot buttons, right? What topics don't you want to talk about, or which ones really get you armed up? Because when you go home and visit your family, we all become emotional time travelers, right? You bring your past. It's almost like I was on another radio show and they asked me why that happens, and I said, it's sort of like kryptonite, right? You're so strong outside the family, and then you go back and it's like, oh my God, I feel inadequate compared to my siblings again. Right. I feel that way. I didn't feel that way before.
Yeah, there ought not be a comparison and all that stuff. I mean, I guess it's inevitable sometimes that people are still going to do that no matter how much you say it. And yet at the same time, it ought not be a time when you have to tiptoe around on eggshells either. I want to come back and get some more thoughts here. Dr. Leslie Beth Wish is a psychotherapist and author of Smart Relationships, How Successful Women Can Find True Love, with us here to tell us about Hold Your Tongue and Pass the Pie, please. Enjoy the day, right? The other thing I thought about, too, is if you do say something, you're not going to have the chance, if it's somebody that's far away and you're not going to see them again until next year, to really say something else about it. You're going to do it by phone or email or whatever. Yeah. We'll be back with Dr. Leslie Beth Wish right after this with some more advice for the family dinner table tomorrow during Thanksgiving here on the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA. So you're getting ready for tomorrow, and you're looking forward to it, right? And you've got all that cooking to do, and you're getting the whole family in, and people are coming from out of town. You haven't seen them for a year, all that good stuff. And then you sit down and you start kind of planning who's going to sit next to whom, who rubs somebody the wrong way. I don't know if you have any of that in your family too much. Maybe you don't. Maybe this is falling on deaf ears. But what if you do? What if you have someone who's just, they just say anything or they dominate a conversation? Dr. Leslie Beth Wish is with us this morning, a psychotherapist and author of Smart Relationships, How Successful Women Can Find True Love. On the topic of hold your tongue and pass the pie, that's something when you think about it, Dr. Wish, that when you sit people around a table and you start to plan out, and by the way, we always have the inevitable battle if you have a big group coming in, who's going to sit at the kiddies table. I was at the kiddies table until I was like 45, I think, and who's going to be at the adult table. So you got that battle going on. My cousins and I used to sit there and we'd say, are we ever going to graduate to the big time table? But, where you sit people is kind of dynamic too, isn't it?
Yes, and if your parents or host, who's ever, organized this, has little placards out there, you better obey it. You do not want to rock the boat. But what I like doing is I don't like the idea of a kid's table being too far away. It's okay to have a kid's table, but make it, adjacent, touching the regular table. And if you can, sit right next to the kid's table.
Huh. Okay, so you become kind of the keystone there, so to speak?
No, you become grouped in with the happiness feeling of staring at that table. You're surrounded by fun.
Oh, okay. Now, every now and then you get somebody at Thanksgiving dinner who just is the talker. They're dominating the conversation. Where do you put them? Other than another room.
What you do is that you give that person lots of responsibility. You're in charge of putting the plates together or passing around this or bringing the casserole in. You give them something to do.
With their hands, so they're not doing as much with their mouth. Right.
Yes, exactly.
That's a good point.
Uncle Charlie, could you go in the kitchen and check to see, if the turkey's browning? Or Uncle Charlie, could you check to see how many hors d'oeuvres are left? It makes them feel important, but it also gets them out of always talking.
What other kinds of advice do you have for tomorrow? I mean, there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that go in and they don't worry about any of this stuff. But, you also have some places, some families where you're going in, and, they're kind of walking on eggshells. As a host or a hostess, what do you do to make sure that everybody's feeling welcome? I mean, that is a big responsibility.
Well, if you're the host or hostess, it's very important to keep in mind the same advice I give to people who are planning weddings. You are not responsible for everyone's happiness. Keep that in mind. You can't commandeer that. You can't change that, but you can set a tone. And that's why I like, if you are the host or hostess, why don't you write something nice to say to everyone and put it under their plate? I want everyone to look under their plate or under their glass or under their spoon, and everyone gets to read something nice from the host or hostess for them.
Wow. No, I like that idea. I think that's really good because you've individualized that to everybody, and you've kind of set the tone for the day. So if someone else now goes out and says something nasty, well, that's flying in direct opposition to the tone that you set, right?
Yes, and go around the table and read your little quote out loud.
Ooh, okay. All right. What other things do you think are good to kind of make it just a great day where you're, not just passing the potatoes and the pie, but you're also, passing around some goodwill?
Well, if you are physically close to your, cousins and grandchildren and things like that, or if you can arrange something through Skype, why don't you get some of the kids together, especially the younger the better, to sing a song to everyone or to, pass around a wish to everyone. Anyone who's in charge of putting together something cute and endearing for the kids gets lots of points.
So kind of like a Christmas pageant on a very small scale.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, very cool. I know my mom has always been great at having like a sing-along, and a lot of my family would sit down. They'd love to just kind of get involved, sit around in the living room. Then they'd have a sing-along. She'd play the piano, and that was always a lot of fun. A little corny at times, but it was a lot of fun. We kind of liked that.
Corniness really gets lots of points. Corniness is really good, actually. I love corny.
Well, corniness, though, corniness is really neat in the sense that corniness gets tied in with tradition. Tradition is older stuff.
Correct.
And we kind of like tradition at that particular time. We talk about it, and, even if we don't always feel tradition much during the year because we're all running around like crazy people, that's the day where you kind of savor tradition like a little bit of a fine wine, and corniness kind of gets mixed in with that a little bit, doesn't it?
It does, and the end goal of corniness is to bring people together, to create warm feelings, and that goes back to my earlier statements that your job of going to spend time with your family is to do something that changes their old and outmoded view of you.
Wow. Author of a great book out there right now, Smart Relationships, How Successful People Can Find True Love. Where can people find your book, by the way, Dr. Wish?
Please go to my website. It's called lovevictory.com, and on the right-hand side is the book cover. It's blue, and if I can just say a quick sentence, this book is based on 5 years of research with thousands of women and their partners to find out why so many of today's women are smart about work but not love.
All right. Anyway, thank you so much, and a happy Thanksgiving to you, Dr. Wish.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and your listeners, and thank you very much for a great conversation.
I enjoyed it myself. Thank you so much, and happy holidays. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Dr. Leslie Beth Wish with us on the Gary Sutton Show.